I don't think NACS is dying. Like if you look at the rankings right now and you look at the rankings 3 years ago, it looks very similar. The same number of teams are playing. There's actually probably more. There's more Brazilian teams here that are actually
Yes,
doing well. There's
sure.
more now that these low-end MDL teams can play these top pro teams. They're actually beating them sometimes, taking maps of them, winning series against them. And that didn't happen 3 years ago. Like if Evil Geniuses or I don't know, if Liquid played New England Whalers 3 years ago, that they would probably just wipe them out. So I don't see how NACS is dying, in my opinion. If you just look at it that way, just in terms of rankings, in terms of matchups.
No,
Especially when
it's
that comes back
yeah.
to, yeah.
Go on.
That's about it. I was just say like, I mean, on this phase right now, like everything's online. Obviously, like there's not that many teams or like not that many top teams. But like when lands come back, I feel like the scene was never like dead or dying. We just gotta wait until the pandemic goes away. That's it.
Yeah, I think I mean, especially over here, there's like a big feeling where it feels like a lot of the players and teams are just holding their breaths for lands to come back and like the scene to kind of get back to normal. Um, I don't know, this feels to me like it's not like a dying a scene, it's like a spring cleaning. Like I don't look at, there's not very many players that left to Valorant that I look at and said they were like indispensable to the scene, or they were like, though these guys had like a great chance of going pro, or these guys had like Tens is probably a big loss, but even him, he was only like, we only really even saw his potential for a very short time. I think he was in C9 for what, like 2 or 3 months or
It's
something like
brief,
that.
yeah.
Dapper was like, I thought that one was kind of a big hit, but because I mean he showed some great potential at the original Flashpoint. Nitro obviously hurt. Steel's probably the biggest loss
Yes,
we
that's
had
a
for
big
his
one.
ability to develop the amateur scene.
And that has an
But
obvious secondary reason that he
yeah,
didn't just leave because he loves Valorant. Let's be real.
right.
Like, he'd probably
You
still be playing
understand
now
why.
if he's unbanned. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest problem and the biggest, I think most of this, the people who say that the scene is dying are people who are entirely, I think, ignorant of the Counter-Strike scene and the North American scene as a whole, just because there's some high profile things that have people who have left, and everything just looks, it's all about like the
Sure.
hype of the headline, right? 100 Thieves dropping out,
Yes.
Shroud saying things on his stream about Counter-Strike dying, Nitro leaving, like these big headline grabbing things, like the headlines of, like, I don't know why we needed to have like articles about, like, I love the guy, but like Hiko did not need an article about him retiring from Counter Strike. He's
Yes.
been gone. He's been gone for years. Scream did not need an article about him retiring from Counter Strike to go to Valorant. He's been gone for years. And you see all these like articles pop up that are like CS:GO pros leave to go to Valorant, and it is names like Tens and Dapper, which, like I said, it sucks if in the scene because they have a lot of potential. But these guys, I mean, you're really stretching the word pro. If they've been in Cloud9 for 2 to 3 months before going to Valorant. So I think a lot of that opinion is just built around hype and is built around headlines and is built around people who don't really actually know what they're talking about, or just want people to buy into the hype in the headline.
Yeah.
Well, isn't the other topic about NACS dying just with all these, not all these, but there's like the 5 NA teams that are going to Europe now for boot camp,
That's another
and
angle. Yeah.
yeah, for
I
some reason they think that they're never going to come back. Like, are they
Yeah,
never going to come back and play an NA tournament? And in any case, before the pandemic, most of the teams weren't even playing in NA tournaments. They're getting invited to the big tournaments.
Right.
So it's not like we're losing something. We're losing something when they just go for a little boot camp.
yeah, and I mean even that is even us going for like the extended final month or final 6 to 7 weeks of the year is like an extreme circumstance where I don't know, like we had like things, the whole blast situation kind of changed everything when they announced they wanted everyone to come to Europe, and that was like, oh, okay, well now we kind of have to go unless we want to play with high ping. So I mean even that is like its own special situation where. It's just a matter of the end of the year with COVID. Like this is just kind of throwing everything into the air. So, yeah, I think if that ever got to the point where like these teams of players and orgs were saying we're going to permanently move to Europe, that would be probably the biggest disaster for NA scene. Then we could have a conversation around the NA scene dying, right? Like if the teams and players are permanently leaving, and you lose that top crop of teams, and then there's no reason to have slots for the North American region. By the way, I can't think of a single tournament organizer who would allow that to happen. Like if I was
Yes.
ESL, I would just say no. Like you're not allowed to do that. Because like that would just destroy a whole region. So if that ever happens, which I don't think it will for many reasons, that would be like the real red alarm. But I think I don't know. I think there's also, I mean, even on top of like the hype and the bad headlines and the bad press that NA Counter Strike gets lately, I think like you guys said, there's a lot of good teams popping up below us, the Whalers, Chaos. I mean, you guys rising up as ATK, and obviously maybe you need to fill some gaps in the team again and maybe start over a little bit and do it over. But you guys starting to pressure the top teams. There's another one that I'm forgetting. Triumph is actually doing pretty good for having just lost Grim as well. So I think the biggest issue we have now is we've reverted back to that mentality where professional teams in North America have such a lack of professional teams and outsiders have such a lack of respect for the tier 2 teams in North America, where they're actually playing a lot better than they get credit for. And most of that is because nobody has a chance. There's not enough opportunities for these teams to show results and to build up a resume in terms of tournament placings and deep runs at events here in North America to get that kind of respect.
I've got a couple of angles on this. Like, one is, let's imagine, right, even though I agree it's a ridiculous premise, JT, like, obviously those players are just going to Europe for, like, a boot camp or, like, a couple of tournaments in a row, and then they're going to come home. Like, in case anyone doesn't know, spoiler, part of the reason why some NA pros haven't joined really big, high-profile teams in Europe is because NA pros tend to just want to stay at home in NA. They don't want to go and live in Europe, like, away from their family for years. Like, no one really wants to do that generally. I know people like you and the 100 Thieves guys have had to do it. It's like, that's a big sacrifice. Not many people will do that. So to me, that's already like overblown. But let's imagine for a second, let's accept the premise. Let's say it was real. Let's say EG and Team Liquid are going to Europe and they're never coming back, right? If anyone knows the way markets work, it wouldn't just be a vacuum forever. Like, logically, first of all, if I'm a bunch of other skilled players, like maybe the people in Gen G, right now we get all the attention. We're the best NA team. We're in all the NA tournaments. We're going to win all the NA qualifiers. Like, logically, that vacuum will be filled. Like, I would even then build an NA team if I'm a new org coming in. I'd tell a new orgs coming in to Counter-Strike, you want to make a team? NA's the place to go. They're going to have an easier minor. Like, there's a million factors, actually, that, like, kind of would play out. It would hurt in a way, but it would help in a different way. Like, it'll never be as black and white as that. And then what was the other part? What were you guys just... Oh, the other angle here as well is this. Moses knows this. From even as long back in the day as 1.6, I was always sick of that whack storyline that you always hear from the top 2 to 3 NA teams. It goes like this. Oh, well, the reason why we lost to the Europeans is because when we practice, it's just pure shit. And there's only like us 3.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
And unless we practice each other, like, basically there's like no practice, bro. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, in that scenario, I think JT's team is the ultimate example. Because when you guys came up, you already had a proper professional playbook by the time you joined Cloud9. You were running real executes. You had loads of innovations you've made on maps, like tweaks to strats. Like, if a team like Team Liquid or 100 Thieves or Evil Geniuses practices you, just shoots you in the head with the crosshair and goes, nothing I could learn from this game, then they're idiots. Like, if you're a boxer, you don't fucking spar at 100% and like it's a real fight. The idea is you want the guy to know technique. You want to know what I'm practicing. Like, practice isn't even about winning the scrim. Like, that's such an... In my opinion, I know there are some teams that are just scrimmers and they're just playing stupid as well and doing random stuff. But this team's trying real strats as well. Like, you can get something from that game, in my opinion, if you go in with the right mindset.
Yeah, exactly. I think a big problem with NA is that they're treating their practice schedules as like 90% scrims, when in actual fact, like, the scrum should just be like the testing ground. It should be like your 40%, your 30% of what you're actually doing in practice, so that you can actually build upon something. That's in my opinion, at least.
Were you guys doing like theory stuff? Is that what you're implying? Because obviously, I mean, there must be somewhere where you come up with all this shit, right?
Well, yeah. So we used to do 4 scrims, and then we changed to like 3 scrims instead every single day, and then we would do like 2 hours plus of just server work, and then in between scrims we would be watching like the VODs of the scrims that we actually played. So it was more like only like half of our practice schedule ended up being scrims, and I think that worked better for us. But I guess teams are different, so that was just our thing.
Oh, there's another thing.
An hour before.
You do an hour before? Okay.
Yeah.
That's legit. I mean, people obviously wouldn't know that. Is that even now after Steel's gone?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, there's another angle as well, by the way. I hate to get political, but if Americans won't do the fucking job, we'll go get the Aussies, we'll get fucking South Africans, Brazilians. We'll bring anyone over there. If that fucking money's there, someone's going to come get that bread. So,
you're tired, you're sick, you're poor.
Exactly. Who wants to work? Basically, just make a statue of me, put that on Ellis Island, saying about bringing bring all the Counter-Strike players in. That's what I'll do. I will flood your country with immigrants more.
Yeah, statue of Thorin fucking over there.
Exactly.